Gus Rosado is a visionary.
Gus is my brother, my family, my blood.
As a person, as an individual, no one cares more about East Harlem than Gus.
So his focus was on East Harlem, the people of East Harlem, the housing stock of East Harlem. He never lost that.
Gus Rosado is somebody that wants other people to move ahead and do something positive.
Gus is a family man, devoted to his 3 daughters and now grandchildren.
He's just always been that thoughtful person who would take the time to listen to you.
He is a man of his word.
Gus Rosado is somebody who cares.
My family came here in the 50s, so this is really home for us. We all came here and we felt comfortable here because there was a lot of Latino families, Puerto Rican in particular, and the music, the culture, the food. I remember walking to church in a group of my family. So I had that Catholic upbringing and that strong family values upbringing that I think was the core of really who I became as a person. Growing up, there were many crossroads as teenagers. Drugs, friends that would steal. Because I know that there were a number of times that a decision that I would make could change my life drastically. That gave me that drive that kind of motivated me to pursue helping the community for a lifetime.
I'll never forget, he began modestly, humbly with a $20,000 grant, shared an office with another organization, and it was tough. As his older brother, I felt it my job to help him and make sure that he succeeded.
I was focusing mostly on housing activity, and that's how we founded El Barrio's Operation Fightback. In those days, there was no Instagram, no cell phones, no digital, no social world. You had to go into the buildings and knock on the doors of the tenants that you were trying to help, and you'd have meetings in the hallways. Well, the tenant organizing led to property management. Property management gave us an opportunity to do rehabs and development. In the early 90s, when they started the tax credit programs, we were able to participate in that.
From there, he graduated to new construction. So we built the first new homes built in East Harlem in 60 years. I have great respect for what Gus has accomplished and the lives he's affected.
Many of the people that move into these affordable units need additional support services.
Gus had just finished rehabbing a building, and he was going to a meeting and didn't have time to introduce this elderly couple to their apartment. This was a senior couple that we awarded a ground floor apartment so they wouldn't have to go up steps. But they were unaccustomed to intercom system, stoves that didn't require matches, that sort of thing. And my brother asked me, listen, I don't have time, would you show this couple the apartment? I remember the wife was blind. So I showed them, I took them into the apartment. He sat his wife down in the middle of the living room, and he's walking around. I'm showing him around the apartment. Here are the bedrooms. And he's got this little brown bag, crumpled up little brown bag from a store. And then as I'm leaving, he says to me, here, I have something for you. And he, puts forward the bag, And I said, oh, no, you don't owe me anything, and he says to me, please, it's not much, but please. And I said, okay, I opened it up and it was a banana and an apple. So that's the kind of thing that makes you feel like $1 million. Who made that all possible? It was my brother, Gus.
Then many years later, we added a social services component with our workforce development section, which does training and job placement. So then I felt, wow, we're providing homes and we're providing jobs. The name came from are really our initial community battle. One 6-unit building that we had organized the tenants. It was owned by the city. If they were able to show the city that they could manage their building, collect the rents, keep reports, make repairs, the city would sell them the building. Those apartments were selling for $250 a piece. One of the requirements is that they have to remove every violation from the building. So in that particular building, there was a drug dealer that had occupied the commercial space on the first floor called In the Sauce Sandwich Shop. But if you walked into that sandwich shop, there were no tables, no chairs, no beverages, no sandwiches. They put a door up in the public hallway that was a violation. That was the last violation in the building. So the tenant took the drug dealer to court, and we lost in court because the tenant had a lease with the city of New York, was paying his rent, so we lost. And the next day in the New York Post, an article came out that said, tenants failed to evict drug dealer. 2 or 3 months later, I think in March, the initial candlelight vigils we had at the buildings were in December. We started to have those candlelight vigils, and so they couldn't sell drugs. And those candlelight vigils that were coming out on TV and in the newspaper were called Operation Fightback. We eventually did get them out, and we opened El Barrio's Operation Fightback and incorporated from that location.
My name is EVETTE ZAYAS, and I am the owner of Cake Burgers, located at 400 East 120th Street. So Cake Burgers is a 1950s retro bakery diner. We specialize in gourmet burgers and 3-dimensional cakes.
EVETTE ZAYAS and her cake burger business was a person who was making cakes out of her apartment. And we had a commercial space that became available. She said, look, would you give me a try at this location?
Gus thought about it, and I did the application and everything. And he says to me, you know something, Yvette? I got 2 proposals in front of me, and I'm gonna give it to you.
She was a neighborhood person. I knew of her work from her apartment, a female entrepreneur. And I said, well, why not?
I might have cried.
That's the kind of thing that we kind of want to do.
He could have said no. He could have said no. Yvette, you don't have enough money. Yvette, you don't have this. Yvette, but he said yes. He gave me a chance. If he gave me a chance, I know that he gave a lot of people chances, to start their dreams or an apartment or a job or something like that,
How can we help the neighborhood in different ways, not just housing or job training, but providing economic development opportunity for her to pursue her dream of a store business that she could operate out of.
There was another world to be given a chance. You're here, I'm a minority. I've been living on my own since 15. I raised my children.
So I'm really proud and happy of her.
He just gave me a chance.
The El Barrio Art Space project started with a group in Minnesota called Art Space Projects. So they came to New York to look for a space. And then when they came to El Barrio, a couple of colleagues that we had worked with at HPD said, there's a group in East Harlem called El Barrio Operation Fightback that has done renovations. If you partner with them, that's gonna help you lock down this building. The building was abandoned by the Board of Education. And so we had to first convince the Board of Ed to pass it to the Department of Housing, and then the Department of Housing can pass it over to us. And we were able to convince the city that the primary tenant population here would be artists. We had to kind of review portfolios and have them do like mini auditions and show of their work and demonstrate how they saw themselves as artists. And that process was not really typical to a normal rental of a building. We did get it done. It's probably one of the premier affordable housing artist buildings in all of New York City. We're really proud about that.
I am born and raised in East Harlem, actually on this street where the offices of El Barrio Operation Fightback are currently reside. My grandparents emigrated here from Puerto Rico. My father was a council member in the early 80s, and we come from a legacy of service to the East Harlem community. I came to El Barrio Operation Fightback because they ran the Summer Youth Employment Program, and they gave me my first job, my first summer job as a youngster. So I know Gus my entire life. Gus has been part of the family for so long, instrumental in terms of my father's success as an elected official. But I think he would say that he learned about community organizing and the strength and how to build community from my father.
We would organize events for him, and he would talk to the community off of a float. He would motivate the crowd to be involved and participate in community activity and improvement. Just hearing him motivated me.
Groups had to be created to serve the Puerto Rican community, and that's how we have that's how we have El Barrio Operation Fightback and the numerous other organizations that are now part of the Acacia Network. El Barrio Operation Fightback is scrappy. It's not a big organization. It is not the biggest housing provider here, but it does it with a sense of integrity and care. And that's what you expect from your nonprofit, right? That's what you expect from your community housing partner. And I think Gus has spent his entire career doing that. And we are grateful. We are grateful that he has given so much of his time, energy, and his career to East Harlem El Barrio.
Operation Fightback, in its very name, talked about fighting back, about taking control, about taking charge of your own destiny, which is the credo that I believe in.
And when we started talking, I started to build confidence in RAUL. This is a good big brother.
Gus and I met. I think we hit it off pretty quickly. Almost immediately, we began to talk about common things about how do we protect the housing.
So I got a chance to see how his team operated, and that helped me, convince me that that was a potentially good path to help secure what we have established to this point.
And one day we had a handshake. I gave him my word, he gave me his word. The rest is history.
And so I'm hoping that that partnership that we are developing now will allow us to continue to do more housing and more development, but with a more meaningful role.
I mean, I would love Operation Fightback to be the Acacia footprint in East Harlem.
We could dig in some roots into the community that could be here for a very long time.
I'm proud of my brother for what he's accomplished here in El Barrio. It's been a major contribution to the neighborhood. He fought back, he stood up.
Right now, what I get the most joy out of is when I spend time with my grandkids. It gives me a joy that kind of brings me back to when I was bringing up my household.
His whole life has been dedicated and focused on protecting the housing stock of East Harlem, and also the respect of the Latino people in East Harlem.
Gus Rosado is also somebody that I believe that wants you to carry a torch also, because he carried a torch. Whether it was housing, whether it was, allowing somebody to start a business, whether it's giving somebody a job, he carried torches.
Challenges can be overcome. Do not let the insecurities and the difficulties stop you.
His mission has always been, how do I take care of my neighbors? How do I make sure that they have a place to stay? How do I make sure that those who don't have a lot of money have quality housing and the kind of services that they deserve in their community?
There was so many different accomplishments that were milestones. I always felt, this is it. When I do this, I'm gonna be totally happy that I did my best in the neighborhood, and this is it, I'm done. and then something else would come up, and I'll say, well, let me just do this one more thing.
I guess all I'd like to say is, Gus, I love you, and proud of you for everything you've accomplished.
Gustavo Rosado, a kid who grew up in El Barrio. I was able to contribute in a way that was meaningful for the community as a whole. I'm proud about that.